I started doing events for Hero Robot and Sly Fox and Punch Buddy.
I mean, I live, second in Girard, like right in the neighborhood, and it feels like every single event that goes on, you're running it.
I am very proud that I get contacted by a lot of people, and I get a chance to work with a lot of amazing breweries and cideries in the city.
What you're doing is working, because it's like the area is known for having great street fests, and it's like you're running all of them. Like, you're in charge of all the great things that are happening. Welcome to the Brewed podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined again by Evan Blum, and tonight we have Meredith Rebar, owner of Homebrewed Events.
Thanks for having me.
Basically a doer of everything in the city. I mean, we'll get into it, but I think the limit to you to Homebrewed Events is kind of very narrow. I think, having an event coordinator, we have a lot of different people on here, but having an event coordinator is something that a lot of people don't think about, and you seem to have your hand in just about every large-scale thing that happens in the city, or small-scale thing that's like different brewery-operated, event-coordinated. And then, we can get into your classes too, but I think there's a lot of connections with you and Brewed also that I want to talk about. But yeah, if you just want to introduce kind of Homebrewed Events and kind of tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, so Homebrewed Events is my company. Started in 2013, originally doing in-home brewing classes, so have your friends over, brew a beer, and then you get to keep the beer. Moved away from that to more beer pairing classes, went through Cicerone training, so did all of the sensory stuff. Got to certified Cicerone, which is second level.
Yeah.
And doing, chocolate and beer, cheese and beer, beer dinners, all sorts of stuff. And then adding on big scale events. Both street festivals as well as beer festivals.
So big jump up from like chocolate and beer pairings to like 20,000, 40,000 people events.
Yeah, I switched over. So the company was founded in 2013, but I switched over to doing it full time in 2016.
Nice.
And I had to figure out how to make more money.
Yeah.
And I have a huge background in event planning, so it was very easy to kind of fill in the gaps. And there's a lot of breweries that can't afford or don't have enough work for an events person. So I reached out to all my contacts and, kind of got connected with different people to do beer festivals.
Yeah, essentially, you are an expert on it, so you're kind of a consultant. So people, a lot of these people are like homebrewers, or just like they're people that own not just homebrewers, like people just start a brewery, they don't know how to throw a large-scale event.
Yeah.
And, same thing with Evan is trying to help people out with, and Brewdad's trying to help people out with social media and kind of marketing stuff. It's like, because you have to wear so many hats as, a small business owner or a craft brewery owner, it's like you're now taking one of those hats and you wear it permanently and kind of make sure that it's the best event possible.
Yeah, it's fun. And I've done pretty much everything in the beer industry, so I have a lot of contacts. We could talk about that in a little bit, but I know about beer. I know how beer is made. I know, the movers and shakers. And I also know how to market the events and work with the city and all of the million things that go into making the event happen. Budgets and spreadsheets and all the less fun things.
Yeah, all the logistics that make it fun.
Yep.
Cool. So I guess, you have a history of, you said, running events. You graduated Penn State with a marketing degree?
Yes, I went for business, focusing on marketing, and then also communications. Actually, funny enough, focusing on film.
Really?
I've done nothing with it, but it was fun. I wanted to do documentaries, but
that's my girlfriend does actually.
Yeah. But it was really cool because I was able to start my first business while I was in college. In high school, I started booking my friends' bands because I was the organized one and not the musician. So I'd book the fire hall and make the flyers, sell the tickets. And it just became like, I loved it. I love music. That was my first passion before beer.
We won't tell anybody.
It's still a passion. But I reached out to a place called The Brewery, funny enough, in State College.
That's where I turned 21.
Yeah.
An ashtray shot. Drink out of a straw that looks like a cigarette.
Amount of bad decisions that have happened there in the best way possible. That's so amazing because while I worked with the brewery, my first legal drink was at the First.
Nice.
Irish bar. And they had beer, cocktails, and whatever. It was fun.
It was great. Did you wear a hat? One of the green hats?
Oh, yeah.
Get thrown out at midnight?
Yeah.
Checked all the boxes.
Yep. Did all the things. But I was able to start booking shows on Tuesdays, and then eventually as I started getting better and I got bigger bands, worked up to the weekends.
Nice.
Which was really fun because if you've ever been to State College, it's a college town. It's literally just a college town.
Yeah.
So trying to compete against like cover bands with original music was hard sell.
Definitely.
So it was fun. I got to really figure
to
out how.
For the 10,000th
Oh God, so much. But it was fun, and I got to book some really big bands while I was there. And it was just a really great experience.
Nice. So that was all in college, and I guess that was an actual business. You weren't just doing it.
Yeah.
For them.
I was an actual business. I set up the LLC.
Cool.
Did basically all the background work that I needed to do for that. And I continued doing. It was called Cherry Darling Productions.
Yeah.
And I continued doing that in Harrisburg when I moved out to Harrisburg.
Nice.
I actually started working with Appalachian Brewing Company, doing events in the Abbey Bar.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was essentially kind of the same thing. Like it was just kind of events, and like you were kind of set up their events program there.
Yeah. So I worked with a company that was also booking there called Greenbelt Events.
Okay.
And I helped with their booking. And
what
then
did they have?
events.
They just had musical events, or was it just like normal bar events? They have like
normal like music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was a live music venue.
Cool.
Second floor of Appalachian Brewing Company in Harrisburg.
Nice.
And it was. Is
that still there?
It is still there, but they don't really do a lot of music stuff after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still beautiful. And it was really really full of amazing Belgian beers. So it was like kind of really fun to I got to drink their beers, but then also they imported a bunch of really great.
Was that kind of your first dive into actual beer? Like craft beer?
No, I fell in love with beer in college.
Okay.
But then, not, Lion's Head was great. It was $1 at Sharky's, whatever. But I found a bar that reminded me a lot of Monk's.
Okay.
And it just was such a great experience. I was like, why does the beer look like this? Why does it taste like that?
Yeah.
Why is it this color? Why, what does Belgian beer mean? What does German beer mean? What is all this?
Yeah.
So they had a beer passport, and I just started working my way through all
They're about
all
now building
their
a beer passport.
Yep.
So hearing all about this right now.
Self-study, as they say.
Yes.
And then I was like, ooh, I want to start homebrewing. So I started homebrewing at the end of college. I was like, yeah, fermentation sounds really fun. Let's do it. So my friend Brian taught me how to homebrew, and we brewed together and had little homebrew parties. Nice. And it was just really fun.
How was it? Was it any good?
Yeah, actually, I would say other than I got really ambitious my fourth batch in, and I made a Mexican chocolate spiced stout.
Nice.
So I added fresh jalapeno.
Yeah.
Chocolate powder and so when I bottled it and carbonated, it was really basically metallic. I was like, oof. Because if you've ever had the fresh jalapeno, you know that there's a lot of metallic flavor in the seeds, especially.
Yeah.
And that was all I tasted. So I got really frustrated, and I just put it in the closet and forgot about it for about a year.
Yeah.
Pulled it out. I was like, oh, what's this? And it had settled. So it came out good.
Nice.
It just took time to.
Oh, I thought you were talking
settle.
about the actual beer itself.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You were aging your homebrew from
Yeah.
the beginning.
Whoops. Sometimes happy
Nice.
accidents.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really fun. But yeah, I loved making beers, and I pretty much did one kit and then started doing my own stuff.
Nice. I was the worst homebrewer of all time. I won't go back. I was really bad.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't have the patience. And
I
I
mean-
was just trying to, I was making stuff up as I went, and it was not great.
It's really hard to do because you're basically working in a not sterile environment without like all the fancy equipment. And
yeah, my parents had a water softener at their house, so like everything had like so much salt in it, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I was like, the water was terrible for beer. Like you can't brew beer with water softener.
When did you start homebrewing, Richie? Like
it was in college, but I only did like 3 or 4 of them. I'm like, this ain't working. I need to jump up to commercial level and see if I can actually do this or stop. So that was in college. So you graduate college, and then you immediately start. I guess this was after the Abbey Bar.
So I moved to Harrisburg. My first job out of college was working for the American Cancer Society.
Yeah.
Doing Relay for Life events and like large scale fundraisers.
More events and stuff, though.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a couple thousand people fundraiser for and I was responsible for 5 different events.
Nice.
But I was doing the Abbey Bar in the evenings. Yeah, I always had multiple jobs because I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean your resume is like I was like, all right, when did she start this? When did she stop that? I'm like, wait, she did all these things all at once.
Yeah, and
then it's just like homebrew events during all of it. I was like, okay, I guess we'll figure it out.
I always had full-time job, and then I would do stuff part-time to like learn. And I knew I wanted to get into the beer industry, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and where. And that's when I started working at Troves while I was in Harrisburg. I helped them move from Harrisburg to Hershey in their tasting room staff. So that was a cool experience to see.
I'm sure. I mean, that's one of the best tasting rooms in the whole state.
Yeah, it was amazing to see it from scratch, from an empty room to what it is now. And when I first started, they were just setting up all the systems and moving, as we were talking about water, moving from Harrisburg to Hershey. It's a different water source. So working on the recipes and seeing how they did that.
Tastes like chocolate.
Yeah. Oh my God. Everything is chocolate. No, it was just a really cool experience, and they really focused on staff, sensory training, and education. And that's where I learned about the Cicerone program, and I knew that was the direction that I wanted to go.
Nice. So you were just taking it at that point, or were you leading those classes?
I was the certified beer server while I was at Troves, and then when I was at Origlio, that's when I did the certified Cicerone.
And you jumped right from Troves to Origlio? You moved in the city at that point?
Yeah, so I actually took a job with the American Cancer Society doing legislative work, as well as fundraising and events. That brought me to Philadelphia in 2013, 2012, and then I switched to Origlio end of 2013, basically about a year after I went. And I was with Origlio for about 2.5 years.
Doing what there?
I did their marketing and social media, and then wrote for the publications.
Nice. Is that publication still going on? I've heard that publication, but I don't know if I've seen it in a while.
Yeah, so it was Draft Lines, spelled the European way, Draft Lines.
Yeah.
One was for the internal, and one was external.
Okay.
Draft Lines was external communication, so consumers.
Yeah.
What was the internal? I can't remember. But it was a publication that we wrote for anybody who purchased the beer.
Nice.
So we got a chance to work directly with the craft team, got to interview a bunch of really cool people. So like Sam from Dogfish Head, Rudy from Rodenbach.
Back when they were super hot and everything was going on.
So it was...
Rudy from Rodenbach is a character. I've talked to him before.
Yes.
He's a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. And we actually did a short video series about beer cocktails as well.
That's cool.
So Dan Linham and I did that. He was the bartender, and then I was kind of the host.
Bartender at where?
He's bartended everywhere.
Okay, all right.
He's doing Spirit Forward now, which is like a cocktail catering company.
Cool.
So, but yeah, we worked on beer cocktail recipes, which was really neat.
Nice.
How do you manage your time?
Well, so I've always been an active, busy person.
Yeah.
And I like doing that, and I'm always learning, and even now,
you just finished up your yoga training, right?
Yeah.
It's like you already have 3 jobs and you just did yoga training.
So I'm always continuing education in some aspect and then working. I love doing homebrewed events, and I'm very happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
But with homebrewed events, there's busy times and slower times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spring, summer, very busy. Fall, also very busy. winter kind of slow. So I want to do, and I am going to do yoga in between.
Yeah.
And of course, yoga and beer, because that's going to work out really well.
Of course.
Do a little beer tasting after a yoga class. And then also working with distilleries, because I have a lot of connections with local distillers as well. Manatawny Stillworks is going to be doing Sunday afternoon classes with me.
Nice. What, at their Fishtown location?
Fishtown.
Nice, I like that place.
Yep. So yoga class and then into happy hour for them.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's going to be 12:45 every Sunday. Little yoga, little happy hour after.
Perfect. Get your workout in, then get a buzz on. So what, you went from, where did you go from Origlio then?
So Origlio, I actually got laid off from Origlio. It was 2016, and it was when they had acquired Bella Vista.
Okay.
So they were merging marketing departments. So our whole department got let go while they were doing the merger. But I was very happy that like they treated everybody really well. We got severance, and I was like, okay, well, this is my chance to see if homebrewed events works.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a cushion.
So you were already doing homebrewed events at this point, but it was just mostly tastings and, you know, these little homebrew stuff.
Yeah, so it was...
And the beer education stuff.
Yeah, I was starting to do more beer education. After 2015, I started doing Cicerone classes because I was certified in Cicerone. So anybody who was going through that like process that wanted guidance, I started doing that. But yeah, 2016 was when I switched over to doing it full time. Added a lot of events. Started doing the tastings more so than the brewing.
Was there something where you're like, I want to do this? Was there like one type of event that where you're like, I know I could kind of use this and like lean on this? For the homebrewed events, like you knew you wanted to do like larger events. Was it like you just jumped right into doing festivals and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I used all the contacts that I had, and like I started doing stuff for I started brewing at St. Benjamin's. So I was a brewer at St. Benjamin's for 2.5 years with Andrew, who is now the head brewer, one of the owners for Human Robot. During that time, I did their events for them. We did a couple street festivals on North Street. I did my own events. I did a coffee and beer festival.
Nice.
Brain blank. What did I do in 2016? It was a lot of building, and then I added Second Street Festival to my list of events in 2017.
Was Second Street Festival already going on, or you?
Yeah, Second Street Festival has been going on for about 20 years.
Okay. That is a monster. That's like one of the 15 years. That's my favorite event in the city. It's every single year. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was the largest event that I've ever done. And it was 2017 to the pandemic.
And it was what, 40,000 people you said were there?
Yeah, so 30 to 40,000 people, 8 to 8 blocks, depending on the layout.
Yeah.
It's basically from Girard down to Spring Garden. There's beer gardens, 150 vendors, like 50 food trucks.
People playing music all over the place.
Yep, there's 3 stages,
all day and all night.
busker stage.
Yeah.
So that was.
And then North Pole just turns into a rave. It's like insane.
they do the DJ
it's like
tent.
a bowling alley, and then just turns into like a club. Like
they do
nuts.
DJ tent outside.
Yeah.
So I was their executive director until after 2020, 2021, and moved to management by the bid, which is the business improvement district. And they're kind of overseeing most of it right now.
Nice.
Going back, what was your process of like scaling up homebrewed events to then going to these like major festivals?
Yeah, I mean, so when I was with the American Cancer Society, I was right out of college and responsible for a couple thousand people. Yeah. And like my fundraising goal was $500,000. So like
I
was
already had
used
experience
to
kind of doing that.
I really credit a lot of the bigger scale event stuff to the American Cancer Society.
Yeah.
They did a really good job of training you how to deal with it.
I think if you cherry pick your resume, it's like everything seems kind of random, but everything literally works exactly in the.
Everything has served a purpose for something else.
Yeah, it's cool.
And working towards being in the beer industry, I knew that I wanted to eventually brew. I'm glad that I had a chance to brew with Andrew.
Yeah.
It was a very small brewing team. It was just Andrew, myself, and Josh. So we all got to do everything. We got to brew. I got to come up with some of my own recipes, which was amazing for newer brewer. It was a wonderful, amazing.
And as much as St. Benjamin isn't around anymore, it's like Human Robot's taking it over. So it's like it's part of beer history.
Exactly.
Beer history that like you were a part of kind of everything coming up at that time.
I think that Human Robot has done such an amazing job with that brew house and that space, and now they have 4 locations
all over the place.
They're doing just an amazing job. Yeah. And Andrew, all Andrew wants to do is make lagers.
Yeah.
And they really just let him do what he does best, focusing on Czech lagers and German lagers, and then adding a couple IPAs here and there and other seasonal, periodic releases.
So you were brewing for St. Benjamin, and I guess you were still doing homebrewed events on top of that?
Yeah, so 2016 was slow. I think 2016 and 2017, it was still slow.
Yeah.
So I was full-time for a little bit and then switched to part-time.
Okay.
And then 2018 was when I left St. Ben's to really focus on Second Street, focus on growth.
Yeah.
2018 and 2019 was 2 of my biggest years prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was, I had tons of events. And then after the pandemic, I started doing events for Human Robot and Sly Fox and Punch Buggy.
I mean, I live, second in Girard, like right in the neighborhood, and it feels like every single event that goes on, you're running it.
I am very proud that I get contacted by a lot of people, and I get a chance to work with a lot of amazing breweries and cideries in the city.
What you're doing is working, because it's like I've only lived here for 6 years, but like the area is known for having great street fests, and it's like you're running all of them. Like, you're in charge of all the great things that are happening.
Thank you. No, it's great, and I am very proud of the partnerships that I have.
So you work with Human Robot with doing that Oktoberfest. Did you do the log jamming also?
Yep. So I helped them start the Log Jam and Lagerfest, which we actually did in 2020.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was outside.
Yeah.
It was in that window of time where you could do outside stuff under a certain number of people. And then
this is where your legislative
yeah. God. And then Oktoberfest as well, again outside. So this will be the 4th year for Log Jam.
Log Jamming is the best beer fest I've ever been to. I texted Jake after. I was like, I've been to a lot of beer fests, and a lot of beer fests, like especially we won't name names, but we've been talking. There's some beer fests that aren't so great, and it's just kind of the same stuff over and over again. It felt like we were at a party there. It's
so fun, and since I've been in the beer industry for so long, and when I was working at Trogs or working at St. Ben's, like I attended a lot of beer festivals as a representative. The whole idea of beer fests have changed. In the past, it was like, it's a drinking fest. You can drink as much as you want.
Mm-hmm. And there was nothing besides just rows and rows of corny kegs going out, and then just people drinking out of little 6-ounce glasses.
It was almost very. There were a ton of those events, and there wasn't any necessary theme or focus to it. It was just
get
drinking and go.
Yeah.
And I remember getting asked so many times, what's the highest alcohol content? What's the beer with the most hops?
Yep.
And I will say I think since pandemic and even 2019 has started changing the dynamic of beer festivals. The generic drinking fests aren't really popular anymore. And if you notice, a lot of them have not come back.
I mean, it's the same way that breweries, I think, have, your tap room has to be like a well-run restaurant at this point. It cannot be just like 4 blank walls and you're just pouring beer there because you have a G license.
Yep.
It has to be a legitimately nice place to go to. And beer fests are the same thing. No one wants to go to these canned beer fests anymore. They want to go to these curated events with these unique things that are happening and that are run perfectly smooth.
Yeah, so it's focusing on, there has to be something more to it than that.
Yeah.
So Log Jammin' is focused on lagers, and Human Robot does such a great job at curating the list of breweries to participate.
Yeah,
and they bring in breweries.
They brought in an international set of.
Yeah, so Log Jammin' is a beer festival, and then Oktoberfest is more of a traditional Oktoberfest. Although it's like half traditional, half not at all. Because we had a German band, and then we had metal bands. So it's just like half traditional, half not. But it's called USA versus the World. So U.S. brewers, and then a whole tent of international beers, and some of the best that you can find. Again, Human Robot,
another crazy beer fest. I was standing there, and Ken was just standing in the bottom, just throwing up post sandwiches at people. And I turned and I laughed, and like Asher Roth is just like smoking weed next to me. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, this is crazy.
So fun. The first 2 years we were able to use sunflower, and we did a yodeling contest, and Ken would throw cans of beer to people that would yodel. We switched to tokens for this year because we were all in Germantown. And we also had a wiener dog beauty contest.
Nice.
Oh, that's great.
Their wiener dog logo is very funny.
Yeah. So it's finding, again, they're both really well thought out, really curated. They are brewery run, which I think also makes a big difference instead of like these big companies
just a
coming in.
person bringing in everybody else.
You need some heart and soul to the events
100%.
for people to want to come out. And then another event that I'm very proud of is the Sly Fox Goat Races, Botfest and Goat Races.
Oh, those are great. Those are so entertaining to watch.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel ashamed that I've never been to that before. It's like the fact that like
this
I'm
is the
hosting
year.
this, and it's like I've been involved in Philly beer scene forever, and I've never been to that. Like, I'm totally ashamed. But that I
This
know
is
how
your
cool
year.
it is. Yes.
It's actually on Cinco de Mayo this year, so it's May 5th.
Nice.
Okay.
So yeah, I started working with Sly Fox 2 years ago. This will be my 3rd year. They moved from just an open event to ticketed because it got so crazy and you never knew how many people were going to come. So I helped them transition to a ticketed format.
Nice.
And the last 2 years it sold out, and I expect nothing less this year. But we have a couple thousand people. Last year was about 4,000 people, and 20 goats. So the goats actually race.
Yeah.
And
isn't there one goat that wins every year?
Princess Jenny. She almost lost this year. This was her 4th win.
Someone's got to take
Fourth
it there.
win.
4th win
So
in a
she's
row.
traveling around too, or they traveling around too, or is Sly
No,
Fox? Okay.
Sly Fox is one of the only places that do go races. So you can only see it there.
Goat racing circuit.
There's not a circuit.
Not yet. Not
Not
at
yet.
least.
But there's a big jumbotron, so you can watch from anywhere. Last year, where there was an instant replay because there was a tie, like legit tie, like they crossed at the same time, beat, head, horns, all of it. It's just really fun. So again, that's a unique event that's also been around for about 20 plus years. It started at their original Phoenixville location and then has moved out to Pottstown.
Nice.
Which is wonderful because they purchased land next to them and it's perfect for events.
It was great when you walked to the beer fest.
Oh God, it's so good. And then I work with Punch Buggy to do Made on American Street. This was originally a homebrew contest
Really?
and barbecue.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so before pandemic, the Philadelphia Homebrew Club would host it because they were located on American Street. Not where Punch Buggy is, but the building next to them.
Which we just talked about before.
Yep.
Now Wissahickon is moving into Region
Yeah.
13.
Yes,
Yep.
officially official.
Yeah.
We had a call actually today going through that they would be part of Made on American, which is
Nice.
going to be great.
Nice.
Because it was really originally Original 13 and Punch Buggy. Last year was just Punch Buggy
It's
because
nice that
Original
keeps it in
13.
kind of the brewery cidery family, kind of keep it rolling.
Yeah, and it's a fun event because it takes over American Street, so 2 blocks.
I mean,
live
this
music.
past year, it was
Yeah.
torrential downpour, and there were still tons and tons of people out.
People don't
It
care.
was still a party.
It was so much fun. And it's a unique blend of a street festival and a beer fest.
Yeah.
So you can just go and shop local art vendors, or you can participate and sample a bunch of beers
Yeah.
and wine and cocktails. We have other vendors as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That whole
Again-
street is kind of set up perfect because it's like it's a very nice street.
Oh, it's so nice. The
but
renovation on
and you don't have to
American
worry about too much
Street.
traffic there. It's great.
It's so nice to work with, and there's a ton of businesses on American Street now. And this is the first year that the big, huge apartment buildings will be open.
Yeah.
So
A lot more
tons of
people.
people. Yeah.
Again, just walking right down to the party.
Yeah. It was the first year was so hot. May is such a hard time for events because you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
So we got very hot the first year. It was raining this past year, and then who knows for this year.
Yeah.
But people don't care because it's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess that this is what you're doing full time, right?
This is my full-time gig. I love it so much. And
is there a difference between the homebrew? Because on LinkedIn it has like, you're a consultant and homebrewed events. Or do you do stuff on the side that's like not technically under the homebrewed events brand?
I get hired to work with breweries, so technically it's not my own event, but I run it through homebrewed events.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them I can co-brand it as homebrewed events. But then I also do my own events as well.
Okay.
In 2018, I did an ice bar at Lemon Hill Mansion.
Nice.
It was one of my favorite events I've ever done.
And you do Cider Fest also, right?
Yep. So most of my events are fundraisers of some sort. We'll backtrack and talk about that in a second because that's really important to me.
Yeah.
But I'm very lucky that I got connected with the Fairmount Park Conservancy to do events with their historic mansions.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So
just getting drunk in front of a nice old.
It's really cool. There's a lot of history. So before pandemic, Cider Fest was at 6 different houses around the park, and there was a bus that ran between all of them. There was two to three cideries at each house, live music at each house, vendors at each house, and tours. After pandemic, it moves to just Woodford Mansion, just because of everything.
Yeah.
But now it's just a fundraiser for them. It always happens in September and October. We now have it lined up with Philly Cider Week. So it's the second to last weekend of October.
Download the Let's Rally app to find fun, random things to do in and around Philly. Let's Rally plans your day or night for you. Just tell the app how many people you have at your party and how far you're willing to go. You can also add filters like bars, experiences, and food, and the app will create a plan for you instantly. Unthink today and download Let's Rally.
I don't think I think about beer all the time. I don't think about cider that much, but I don't think about cider as having season. I guess that makes sense because apples are then picked then.
I feel bad for the cideries. So no, cider making is more similar to wine making.
Okay.
So it doesn't go through the boiling process. Fermentation takes longer because it's different yeast strains.
But is it the apples that are picked that year come out that year, or is it the year
Depends
after?
on the cider.
Okay.
Some ciders ferment very quick and they can sell pretty quick,
Okay.
and then others are aged for a year plus.
Nice.
And there's a lot of really good cideries in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
We're actually the apple growing capital of the East Coast.
We just had Nick from Stones on, and he said, he just sells beer at a distributor, so he kind of knows what's happening, what's selling. He doesn't have any skin in the game.
Yeah.
And he was telling us that cider's super hot right now.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, so I feel like cider is slightly behind where beer is, obviously, and it's taken a long time to really build that publicity and excitement about it, but it's definitely there.
I think it's more natural than seltzer and teas, obviously.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have gluten in it. So there's a lot of people that can kind of, they feel like they're drinking a more natural or more crafty drink, I guess.
Crafty,
Yeah.
But it's still, it doesn't have the gluten in it, which is a huge thing for a lot of people.
It's so important. And, I know John, who was on your last podcast, is seltzers and cocktails are cutting into beer sales.
Yeah.
100%.
I love Commonwealth cider.
And cider is now still growing.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So, and there's lots of room for growth in that industry. Like wine, you can have dry, you can have semi-dry, you can have sweet versions of cider. So, and it's all naturally done. There are some ciders that add sugar back in, but for the most part, especially locally,
most of them are natural.
Most of them very natural.
Cool.
And most of them are dry, on the drier side.
That's good. I love dry cider.
So one of the ciders that I brought is Plowman.
Get this.
Yeah. So Plowman's from Biglerville area, and it's a 5th generation farmer, Ben, who wanted to keep the family business going and growing. And he basically ferments any fruits and some vegetables that he can't sell at the farmer's market. So it's he does a lot of wild fermentation, which is really freaking cool.
Yeah, cider with Nicaraguan hibiscus.
Yeah, so that one's hibiscus, but they do peaches in the summer. It's all seasonal, which is really nice. And he does different varieties, single varieties and blends, and he does different yeast strains as well.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm actually very excited to semi-announce, but PA Cider Fest is coming back, and I'm going to be helping Ben from Plowman restart it. And it's going to be in Gettysburg area.
Nice.
In
That's
June.
Really cool.
This tastes like a Brett Saison.
Right?
It's like the natural yeast comes
Yep.
out. And it tastes exactly like a Brett Saison.
Yep. There's so much crossover, and it reminds me a lot of sours in the best way possible, and just really, really well done and really thoughtful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this in.
Yeah. Gotta bring a variety of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
An event I wanted to talk about that I found really cool. You did a Dungeons and Drafts event
Yeah.
you put on, and I love their stuff on Instagram and
Yep.
like what they're doing all over the community. They're really cool. So
They're really taking off, and so they reached out to me because we had a mutual friend. They're like, heard you do beer festivals. Like, yep. I want to know more about what you do because that's really cool. And we did an event at Bach Building in October, and it was, D&D themed beers, and then D&D themed vendors as well.
yeah,
It was so much fun, and we are hoping to do it again this year at an indoor-outdoor location, and they're potentially going to be doing it maybe in Pittsburgh and New York, which
Wow.
are some of their other locations as well. So I don't have any full details on that, but it was so much fun. And it was really well attended.
Nice. Love the Bach building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a crazy space.
I didn't know so many people played Dungeons and Dragons. Like I
I
never
feel like
played.
it's having a resurgence, and I think
Stranger Things is
it's-
definitely kind of put
definitely.
that through.
But I think it's a really cool format because a lot of times like D&D takes so long,
Mm-hmm.
and this is literally like you show up and you play for a couple hours, then you're done.
Yeah,
Like it's not like a weekly commitment.
yeah.
I'm
and
sure the whatever, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, but like whatever
Yeah.
the adventure like keeps getting crazier and crazier as everyone
Yep.
keeps getting drunker and drunker.
And it's a great partnership because it's bringing people into breweries. They also work with some distilleries as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a smart partnership, and that's kind of what I like to do as well. I do some beer classes, so it's like, hey, I'll bring people in,
Yep.
and like I'm helping you out, you're helping me out. You have a great location for this, awesome.
Yep.
Let's work together.
So you just mentioned distilleries. You said you
Yeah.
went to distilleries earlier. We talked a little bit about beer, obviously, and cider.
Yeah.
What have you done with distilleries?
So a lot of my events, I work with them to be included in the events as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Just because there is a lot of people that would like cocktails
Yeah,
or
variety.
like, yeah. So why not help all the local guys
Yep.
and gals to be able to showcase their stuff. It's just nice having a variety. So they're not part of Log Jammin' because that's loggers, but
Yeah.
part of Made on American Street, part of Cider Fest,
Yeah.
part of Second Street Festival, all these events.
Nice.
Yeah. So always really important to me to support the local companies, local breweries, distilleries, wineries, cideries first.
I mean, everyone's kind of, beer breweries are competing against each other, but then they're really not. It's like the same things like
Yeah.
cideries and distilleries. Like everyone's competing against each other, but not really. We're just trying to.
It's a really
Everyone bring each other
wonderful
up.
community.
Yeah.
I think that's why I've stayed in the beer industry so long.
It's easy to stay in there.
It's a good group of people. People stick up for themselves and stick up for people that should be
Definitely.
we don't put up with shit.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to be able to help each other out. We're in this together. Everybody's going through the same issues. Why not be nice to each other and help out?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just mentioned that. Do you want to talk about that? I mean, I know you did Pink Boots. I don't know what you want to talk about first.
Yeah. So I've been part of Pink Boots basically since it began.
Yeah.
And we have a Philly chapter, which is really awesome.
Can you explain what Pink Boots is
Yeah.
to people?
So Pink Boots helps advance women and non-binary individuals in the brewing world not just beer anymore. It's open to all fermented beverages, so kombucha, wine, cider, distilled spirits, coffee. Coffee is technically fermented. And through scholarships, through education, and through community and networking. So I'm the co-chapter leader for Philly. This is my second year as a co-chapter leader. We do monthly meetups.
I feel like I'm not in Pink Boots.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, from the outside, I follow you guys on Instagram, and I know a lot of people that are in it. I feel like you guys have a very strong chapter. Like, there's a lot of events that you do that have high attendance.
Yep.
And you guys are, like, very hands-on on a lot of these things.
Yeah, we do. It's been really nice now that it's open to anything fermented.
Yeah.
So we did last month, we did Sacred Path, which is an herbal shop.
Okay.
Talking about tea, botanicals in brewing, botanicals in distilling. We've done winery visits. We do a hop yard visit in Reading at Fawn Hill Hop Yard, which is female owned.
Did you put on? I know Pink Boots has put on like a education thing over at U Sciences a couple years ago. Were you a part of that?
We helped organize,
Okay.
and it was a fundraiser for Pink Boots as well.
Yeah, that was one of the best beer education things I've been to. A lot of times you go to these places and, like, 2 or 3 of the things are, exciting to listen
Right.
to, and then they'll have like some dude from Miller Coors, talking about like reverse osmosis, yada yada yada, and then somebody will talk about like how his grain fields are going. Like, obviously I care about how the farms are doing, but like I don't understand any of it. But this was like, I connected with everything that, like, all the the speakers that were there. Carol Stout got up and talked about, like, her whole story was very cool.
Yeah, she was the first female brewery owner and head brewer in Pennsylvania since Prohibition. Yeah, I mean, so, talking about Pink Boots and really focusing on diversity and inclusion in the industry.
And it's such an important issue because, like, it is, as much as you don't want to admit it, like, it is a male-dominated industry. There is I don't know the exact numbers, but it is mostly straight white men with beards. I have a beard now. That are brewing beer, and it's like it causes issues, and there's a lot of issues with sexism and racism and all these other things, and it kind of came to a head in it was 2020.
It was May 2021.
Yeah.
So May 2021. Brienne, who was lead brewer, head brewer at Notch, put out a social media post about sexism in the industry and something that she was facing, and basically said, "Has anybody else experienced it?"
And it went wild. I don't know who this. I didn't know who Brienne was, but within 6 hours, I was following her, and I went and told my manager, I was like, I don't know, I hope Victory's not on it. We weren't mentioned, but I was like, you need to be aware of this. This is insane. She has gained 60,000 followers in 24 hours, and everybody is talking about this. So she used her power for good. She focused on different cities. She focused on national, international, and focused on sharing stories that people submitted. And there was all these things that, all these issues that just, weren't being highlighted, and then just, everything came to the front. And because everyone was looking at it, it made everybody kind of realize all these things.
Well, and that's the thing about it, is that everybody that I know that's a woman or non-binary individual in the brewing world or distilling industry in general has had a negative experience, whether it's real bad or real, all of it's bad.
Yeah.
So it's just when you start hearing these stories back to back to back to back from breweries that you love or used to love, and you're like, oh shit, I got to pay attention to this. So while you have always wanted to share one story, you hear thousands of stories, then change happens.
One story is you could make the argument, oh, it only happens here, but it was all across the country.
It was all over, and it was breweries that
of every
people
size,
loved.
every type of brewery. It was everybody kind of had the same types of stories.
Exactly, and people weren't able to ignore it anymore. There were a lot of people that lost their jobs, a lot of people that, a lot of breweries that put into place changes and created a new department for diversity and inclusion, focusing on staff interaction, training, promoting people from within.
Mm-hmm.
refocusing on management, having female non-binary individuals in management positions, getting rid of people that were causing trouble and doing bad things within the industry.
I mean,
pushing
I think
them
it
out.
hurt. I mean, not that it hurt, but like it cleared out a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And I think, the whole idea of craft breweries, like why people like it, is because there's people recognize that there's small breweries that start up, and like it was male dominated. It was all these small breweries that started up, and like a lot of people when they start small breweries or small businesses, a lot of times the last things you do is start up your human resources.
Yep.
And it's like it just kind of got pushed to the wayside and just getting crammed down. We have all these other issues. I'm not selling any beer. I'm not going 20% every year. Human resources kept getting jammed down. And then this kind of put it in front, and it's like everyone like, you need to deal with this right now.
Yeah.
And like all the organizations like Pink Boots.
Yep.
And
Pink Boots was very supportive of Brienne.
And stepped up, and they're like gave like kind of like instructions on like, you need to deal with this, and then like kind of walked everybody through like, you need to stop what you're doing and like redo kind of everything.
Yeah.
That you like how you're treating everybody and like how you're managing your employees.
Yep, exactly. And it's something that's still being talked about.
Of course.
If I can look at my phone real quick.
Let's go.
I just need to look up and see what Brienne's organization is.
Like
but
said, everything's edited.
She started a nonprofit to help people learn and develop, and these shirts and sweatshirts and hats.
Yeah, you see
all
them
goes to
everywhere.
fund
That's what he
it.
was talking
Yeah.
about with the Beer People podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Warren, he wears that.
It's Brave
Right?
Noise.
They both
Brave
do it.
Noise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brave Noise.
Yeah.
And that would, the Brave Noise was like one of those like it was one of those beers, right? Like they do like national collaborations where they like essentially send out a recipe and just like put it under this label, and then the proceeds of that will then support this cause.
That's kind of where it started.
Yeah.
Before it became a nonprofit.
Then they
it
started
was funding
with the money
that.
from that, and then it turned into this.
Yep. So, focusing on legislation to change policies to help breweries change and adapt to keep the stories going. So that it wasn't just Brienne as an individual, now it's an organization, and to really keep talking about it. Because, I mean, that's the problem. We didn't talk about it on a national level before.
For sure. And as much as whatever she was doing, like, there was no way that she could sustain that by herself. Like, she just turned into, like, the target because people were getting called out. And then, like, she couldn't manage that. So, like, stuff was going out that, like, she was just saying, like, you need an organization to, like, go through and actually manage it. And it was, like, it essentially, like, her 24 hours of that happened, then turned into this Brave Noise.
It was a couple weeks of her sharing.
It was a couple weeks, but I say 24 hours. Like it became something within 24 hours. It took no time.
Oh yeah,
for that to jump up.
It took off very fast. Just because as I said, basically everybody that I know that are females or non-binary folks in the industry have experienced sexism, racism.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Yeah.
We've gone through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as like, you're at a beer fest and you're standing next to a male coworker that works in the tasting room and you're the brewer and they ask them, like it's passive like things sometimes, but then it's bigger issues of how breweries are run, toxic environments, not having women in positions of power or management or leadership. We are very lucky that Pennsylvania and Philly specifically have a lot of female-owned breweries and cideries. I brought a beer from Attic.
Starting with Carol Stout, I think she was the first female
she was first one.
She
set the path.
Yeah.
Attic Brewing is in Germantown. Laura's fantastic, and it's just really nice. I always try to support as many women-owned breweries as possible. Also with Pink Boots, we do a brew day every year to raise money for Pink Boots. Breweries can do it.
And then you guys get a Pink Boots blend from Yakima Chief, I think.
Yes.
Right?
So that's a fundraiser. So any hops that are purchased through them go to Pink Boots, and then also a percentage of the proceeds from the beers brewed from that also go to Pink Boots.
Cool.
Pennsylvania, we've had anywhere from 10 to 30 breweries participate, which is really cool.
Nice.
As a chapter, we also do a big brew day where we invite the entire chapter to come. And this year it's going to be at Chatty Monks, now Pagoda City, right?
Yeah,
Pagoda City. and that's going to be on March 8th, which is International Women's Day.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you organizing that?
I'm helping to,
Okay.
yeah. As the co-chapter leader, we are in charge of making it happen. John Semler is going to be leading the brew, but it's a fantastic day. Last
I
year,
recognize John Semler.
Yeah.
Where is he?
he was with
recognize
Free
him.
Will,
Okay. Right.
and then he went to consulting, and now he's been with them pretty much from the time he left
Gotcha.
Free Will.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've done. This will probably be the 8th collaboration brew day that we've done
Nice.
in the city. I was able to host 2 at St. Ben's while I was there, but Yards hosted, Love City has hosted, Triple Bottom, Workhorse Brewing.
I see you do events at Triple Bottom. Is that like one of your go-to spots?
I love Triple Bottom so much. I've done classes with them, and then they've been pretty much part of all the other events that I've done
Yeah.
as well.
What's the owner of that? What's her name?
Tess.
Tess.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's very smart.
It's really kind of like cool Cow Hill area because
Yeah,
you
the
have
Spring
Love
Arts
City with
District right
Melissa,
there. Yep.
and then Triple Bottom right across the street.
What's the concert venue right there?
Union Transfer.
Union Transfer.
And then Poison Heart just
Poison
opened.
Heart, yes, the cocktail bar.
Fantastic and also
Yeah.
female owned.
Nice.
Got
Yeah,
a
I've not been there, but I've been meaning to go there for a bit. And then there's
Fantastic.
La Chinesca's right down the street. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of places right there.
that whole area is changing and developing just like Kensington area.
Yeah.
There's still large concentration of breweries and distilleries up this way. When I was at St. Benjamin's, we had a bat by the door. It's changed so much, and now there's a rock gym that blocked out.
Exactly.
We
we
it's
just had
it's
John
nice.
on. Philadelphia Brewing bought their building in 2000 in Kensington.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Bill used to tell me like they used to like bring everybody's cars in and then like bring the gates down.
It's
It's just a lot different now.
The whole area has changed, and I think it's important to note that St. Ben's went into a neighborhood that was not developed yet. It was on the verge of developing, but it wasn't. Punch Buggy and Original 13 also, that was before American Street was renovated. These businesses are investing in the neighborhoods, and food and beverage establishments are doing that, and they're changing the neighborhoods. I think in a positive
they go
way.
in first and they kind of like help
Yeah.
kind of establish themselves. And
You bring
everything else
people,
can kind of grow off of that.
yeah, you bring people in, and you start changing the area in a very positive way, and people want to come to that area. For when we were working with Sunflower, they would do like trash pickup days, like pick up trash in the neighborhood. For this year for Oktoberfest, we spent 20 hours cleaning up Germantown Ave, just to run the event because we wanted to make that area nice. And, we're going to do that again this year, keep that area as nice as possible. Same with American Street. We go up and down and we clean the street. Second Street Festival. Yeah.
Philadelphia's disgusting.
And, you want to leave the space nicer than when you got there.
Yeah.
That was something I learned from Girl Scouts. It does apply to events as well. There's a lot of positive things that are done with events. So cleaning up the area, bringing business to the neighborhood. That was the whole point of Second Street Festival.
With you talking about now cleaning up, can you walk us through your day during like Second Street, one of these big events? Like, are you up at like 4 a.m. and it's like total mayhem until 10 p.m. at night?
Second Street is its own special thing. That one, I'm basically up for 24 hours and working. Most events, I get there between 5 and 7 a.m., make sure all the cars are towed, do the first initial walkthrough.
How often are cars still there? Every time?
Oh yeah, people don't move their cars. So we hire a towing company.
Yeah.
They move the cars into the neighborhood, not impounded.
Yeah.
Cole just had his car towed.
It's
this
somewhere in
week.
the neighborhood.
Yeah, he found it.
But we keep track of where they go. All the rental companies come in to do the tents and tables, chairs. Staff arrives. We start setting up all the vendors. Food trucks arrive, and then the health department has to come and do all of the inspections, and then the bands start arriving, and then the people. So
and
it's like
when all the vendors come, it's just like you have 10,000 people trying to ask you the same questions over and over and over again.
that's why I hire a lot of day of staff.
Okay.
I'm very lucky that I have a good group of people.
You got a Rolodex now.
Yeah. So they've been with me for years. They know events, and I'm lucky that all the events that I do, I'm able to build in a budget for day of people, because I can't be everywhere and do everything. I need to be the overview, big picture person, and
this
then
is
I have.
why we need you. This is the same way that everyone talks about like Brewed at. It's like you think like you own a brewery. I'll just throw a beer fest. There's all these other things that need to happen. Like you're hiring other people just day of. Like people don't understand that.
That's a really big piece of it, and managing them.
Yeah.
You have 20. For Oktoberfest, we have 6 bartenders each side. We have 4 at registration. We have 1 at the shot ski, maybe 2. We have 3 or 4 floaters. So that's like 20 to 30 people that you have to manage.
Yeah.
And then I also hire a volunteer coordinator, staff manager. So it's like me, them, staff, and then this
then
way
10,000 drunk people.
So a lot of people, and we hire day of security just to make sure nothing weird happens, and it's a fun day. And then I'm excited that the brewery owners get to enjoy their event. That's the whole point. Like they help with setup and they help with dealing with any issues, but they get to go enjoy their event.
Yeah, rather than worrying about it the entire time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't
Especially like if you're a brewery putting that on, like your job is you go around, you're kissing babies and shaking hands all day.
Yeah.
Like, you need to go around. That's your party.
They're throwing the party.
They have
They are the
2
hostess.
days a year that they have thousands of people there, and they are going around. And they're making sure they talk to everybody, they see everybody, and like if you have to manage the party at that point, like everyone's like they're bothered because you're not giving them the time of day, but you're just trying to make sure everything happens. But that's why you're there.
Exactly. So I keep making sure everything's running smoothly.
Perfect.
And I get to enjoy the event too, but I'm on call basically, dealing with anything that comes up, which there always are. I don't know. I like solving problems. Like that's part of my skill set.
Yeah.
We ran out of wristbands. Okay, we'll figure this out. We ran out of beer. The very first Oktoberfest that we did, we ran out of beer like 3 hours into the event. We were pulling kegs and stuff off of tanks to fill. But we just had more people come than we expected. Yeah. So we made it work. Like
I'm just trying to picture like Andrew like with like a stein in one hand, just trying to like fill kegs in the other.
He did great. The whole team was great. But it's just dealing with any issues that come up. Like it's fun. It's you get to use your brain and like really figure things out. And you get to work with really cool people.
Yeah. It's cool. Coming from, like starting off, it is very cool. Like you start off, booking concerts, and it's like a concert and a beer fest. Not that it's the same thing, but it's like they're very similar. And then you slowly move into beer, and then like kind of event coordination, kind of like everything. As
everything
much as
works
it seems
together.
like very random, but like it comes in and it's like, oh, it makes sense that you're now running all these events in Philadelphia. You have more experience than anybody else doing these things.
It's a unique skill set that I've been doing events since 2004.
It's a unique skill set that also, like as much as like it's important, like Human Robot throws 2 huge parties, or like each Second Street happens, but it happens once a year.
Yeah.
So to become an expert at that, but it only happens once a year. Not that it's a waste of time, but like you're there, that like then they don't have to do that. Like it's just something that instead of like this huge ordeal, like they don't have to worry about it. They can just kind of find you, and then you kind of set everything in motion.
And depending on the size of the event, how early you start planning. So for all of my spring events, which start in April and go through the end of June. Events every weekend, basically. I'm planning now. Like we did the initial emails in December, and then we're like in full planning mode now. Yeah. For those events that are happening months from now.
Yeah.
It just takes a lot of time to get all the pieces together. I do want to run through all the events that I do. Yeah, I think, and then talk about nonprofits too, because there's a tie Most of them are fundraisers for nonprofits.
So you still do those as well?
So, I mean, most of it's built into those.
Okay.
So, Log Jammin' is a fundraiser for the Michael Jackson Foundation for brewing distilling.
Yep.
That diversity in the industry, 100%.
Yeah.
Last year we added
Michael Jackson, by the way.
Not
For
that
those
Michael
who-
Jackson.
The Michael Jackson that wrote the best beer books, not the King of Pop.
Yes, the king of beer.
Yes.
So last year we had Breeze run Luminary Voices, which is a panel having women or non-binary folks doing a panel discussion.
That was at
Log Jammin' last year.
Seeing that.
Yep. And Log Jammin' moved from a parking lot to Cherry Street Pier, so it's grown in size. Now it's 1,000 people. It's going to be June 1st this year.
Cool.
But that's a huge fundraiser. We've raised $5,000 the last 2 years. We're trying to double or triple our fundraising for this year.
Nice.
So we haven't set our goal officially yet, but with Breeze joining Michael Jackson Foundation as operations manager, we're going to have a great connection.
Nice.
So, and then Woodford Mansion, the Cider Fest goes to the mansion. There's just a lot of good organizations. The SPCA is fundraised through Sly Fox, the goat races.
Nice.
Yeah.
Goats helping cats.
Yeah. And last 2 years, we've had dog adoptions at Sly Fox goat races, and all the dogs get adopted.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
So
That's awesome.
always nice. So because I started in the nonprofit world, having a fundraising component to events is very important to me.
Definitely. And like we talk about it sometimes, it's like as the brewing industry, it's like you need that. It's built into it. It's just like if you're not helping the community, if you're not like don't have some other thing that you're helping besides just like running a business, it's like, people don't like it.
It's local
they
business.
like the fact that you're involved in everything. Like part of why people like it is because you care about it, and like the fact that like you put on an event like this, it's part of the craft brewing experience.
Yep, and it's so important. And right now we're fighting for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
In 2022, Petra, who works at Four Humors Distilling, she's fantastic. Her and I did We Descent, which was a fundraiser for the National Abortion Fund. We didn't do it last year, but we're going to bring it back this year.
Where was that at?
It was at Love City.
Okay. Cool.
So in the parking lot of Love City.
They have a great parking lot for
They
events.
do. Although they're not really doing events there anymore, unfortunately. But they're doing events in the brewery,
Well,
so that's fine.
their brewery is awesome also.
Yes. But we raised like $8,000 for the National Abortion Fund through raffles, through vendor fees. It was
Nice.
great. We're hoping to work with Philadelphia Brewing Company and Martha this year.
Cool. That
Yeah.
whole street, we just talked to them. That whole street is very
Yep.
exciting.
I'm excited about. Do you know when the opening is for that?
I don't even know what it is. I heard it's natural wine or like sardine or I don't like. I keep saying this stuff, but I keep saying different things each time. But I just know it's going to be good. Everything those people do is
Yeah,
good.
that's
So.
very true. But yeah, fundraising is so important because I came from a fundraising background.
Yeah.
And then I do a couple of my own events. I did a punk rock prom this past October. I'm going to do
Nice.
it again. So kind of back to my roots, booking punk bands. And everybody got dressed up in prom attire.
Yeah.
I was at the First Unitarian Church,
Nice.
which is a BYO venue. We had a lot of fun, spiking the punch. Not spiking
Getting
the
drunk
punch.
at church.
And then we raised money for Planned Parenthood.
Nice.
And had a photo booth and the whole thing.
Cool.
So, lots of fun.
Nice. I think that is time though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have anything you want to promote? Any events or anything? I mean, you are the event person, but do you have anything that you want to especially call out?
All right, let's see. First couple of events. So starting the yoga at Manitani Stillworks.
Let's go.
Sundays,
We're all gonna
12:45.
be there.
Little mindfulness, a little drink, a lot of fun. And then the first big event of the year is This Is Not Croydon Fest, which is the ska festival at Broken Goblet. I've known Jeremy from Broken Goblet,
Great,
Jumpstart
great
Records.
tap room.
Yep. Known him for about 20
Where
years.
is that stage from?
It is Bowie's touring stage.
Whoa.
So it's a legit music venue, beautiful space. And this year it's going to be 3 days. So it's Friday is free, and then Saturday, Sunday is ticketed. So this will be the third year that I'm involved with that. helping with logistics, vendors, and staffing.
Nice.
After that will be Sly Fox Goat Races, May 5th. Made on American Street will be May 18th, and that will be on American Street with Funch Buggy and Wissahickon. After that will be Log Jammin' Lagerfest at Cherry Street Pier with Human Robot. And then PA Cider Fest, we don't have a date officially yet, but it should be Father's Day weekend in Gettysburg area with Parman.
Nice.
And then actually Pink Boots Conference is coming to Philadelphia.
Oh.
End of June.
Nice. So like the national conference?
National conference.
Very cool.
Let me look at dates real quick. Because that's going to be huge, having women from all over, women
They
and
have events and
non-binary.
stuff planned for that yet?
Yeah, so it's going to be very cool. Hosted at Rivers Casino the 23rd through the 26th of
Nice.
June.
Wow.
But it's going to bring a national spotlight to the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Tons of educational events, speakers, presenters, and field trips. So that's going to be my April and June. April, May, and June. Just
Time management again. Doing good.
Yeah, you are the busiest person in this room. 3 busy people, you're the busiest. So I guess where can we find Homebrewed Event at Homebrewed Events on Instagram?
Yep.
And then homebrewedevents.com.
Yep.
Cool.
Easy peasy.
Nice.
Cool.
You can find us at Brewed or at Brewed Podcast, and